Okay, so restorative yoga class. We will be primarily doing asan, but also a little pranayama practice. And we'll be talking about the idea of gratitude and bringing gratitude into our practice. And today we're going to have a specific focus on the idea of Santosha, which is contentment. So connecting the idea of contentment with gratitude, along with how gratitude and contentment help to create an abundance mindset, and how important that abundance mindset is as we go through a world that often feels overwhelming and or unjust or unfair, especially to certain populations, and whether that is a personal lived experience or a lived experience of somebody else that you're observing, using the idea of what there is to be grateful for and feel contentment about can either help to shift and move systems to make more abundance for more folks and or bring collective work together. So keeping that kind of as the intention as we move into the practices. Today we're going to start with a pranayam practice. It's called bramari, which means bumblebee breath, and it includes some humming. And based on the recording here, it may not translate real well, that you won't be able to hear me humming very loudly. But the idea is that the humming helps to downregulate our nervous system, and humming has been shown also in some nervous systems and for some people to actually build more a sense of well-being, a sense of perhaps peacefulness or contentment or joy. And so we'll bring that in with our practice today as well. If you would like to use the mudra, one of the mudras that can go along with bramari practice, it is it's about closing all of the sense organs on the face. So the thumbs go either plugging the ears or right in front of the ears if you don't feel comfortable plugging them where you are. And then the index fingers can either go at the eyebrows or just gently rest on the eyelids, your choice. The ring fingers resting on either side of the nostrils, and then the middle fingers doing that, and then the ring finger and the pinkies will be on either side of the top lip and bottom lip. So if you'd like to do the mudra, it looks like this, and it just helps to eliminate all of those sensory inputs that tend to overwhelm our nervous system, and instead bring our focus, our attention internally, and then notice the sensations, both physical and emotional, when you do the humming. So the humming, the bramari breath is inhaling through the nose. And then on an exhale, just making a bumblebee humming sound as you exhale through the nose. Inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose with a humming sound. And then continuing for about 5 to 6 more rounds of that at your pace, knowing that you might be slower or faster than me, and that's totally fine. eventually at your pace as you're ready, finishing up your last round. And as you do, releasing the mudra of your heart, you shake out the hands. If the eyes have been closed, you can keep them closed, or you can rest the gaze down in front of you. Keeping the body still and quiet as is available to you. Noticing if you can feel any of the residual vibrations from the humming. On your fingers, they're still vibrating at the mudra, or in your throat, in your chest, in your hips. That's not your experience, that's totally fine. Instead, focusing on each inhale coming into the body and exhale. To keep the focus internally. There may be other thoughts, other sensations, maybe doubts about the past or concerns about the future might be trying to crowd in, or maybe even just sensory stimulation in the space where you are right now. They're coming in to distract your mind from staying on a single pointed focal point, which could be your breath. Or if that's not resonating with you today, bring to mind something that is in your life for which you can feel content, engage with that situation, that person, that place. You get an energy of contentment. That to mind. And maybe for your experience, there's more than one thing, and that's fine too. That helps to build in that sense of abundance, which deepens and grows our gratitude. Or you can just start to notice the details, all of the aspects as to why that specific situation helps you to feel content. Whichever focal point you've chosen, if these other thoughts continue to intrude, which they likely will, it's okay. There's no reason to judge them. It's how our brain and our body and our nervous system are meant to work. But instead of engaging with it or being reactive to it, just let it pass and anchor your mind back again, whatever you've chosen for your focal. And that might happen multiple times a minute. It's just continuing to practice to draw the mind back to its focal point. From here, we're going to gently and slowly take a lengthened inhale in. And as you exhale, lower the chin towards the chest. With the chin lowered, if it feels good, you can roll the shoulders up, back, down and in front. 2, 3, 4 times. And reverse that cycle up, forward, down, and back. And then just some natural, organic, slow, gentle head rolls side to side. If you notice any specific points that are sticky, you might want to hold just for a breath or two and let the exhales help to slowly release some of that stickiness. Eventually to center. You're welcome to keep your eyes closed throughout the entire practice if that's comfortable for you. We're going to move into what's called Virasana or Hero's Pose. So finding whatever props you might have, a rolled up towel blanket or extra rolled up mat or a bolster and or some yoga blocks. You're going to swing the legs around behind you, coming up to all fours on your knees. If you want to move through a couple cat-cows once you get here, just kind of shift through the shoulder and hip joints before you get settled into the next shape. That might feel like it can create a little bit more space. And then whichever props work well for you, you might not want props at all, but I'll show you a couple variations. So from all fours, moving a bolster, a rolled up mat, or maybe 1 or 2 blocks between the knees. And then just start to gently work your way down and drop your sits bones either to the heels or to the prop. So this rolled up mat is a little bit low. If somebody wanted something a little bit higher that was maybe going to make a little less compression on the knees, you could do something like so. If bending both knees at the same time is not a fit for you, you can keep one knee bent and extend the other leg long, either on the props or moving the props all together if that's a fit for you, and coming down with the sits bones on the floor. So any of those variations, whatever you choose from there. Now, if any kind of flexion on the knee is not a good fit for one knee or both today, then instead I'm going to have you not have that deep flexion and keep the legs out in front, extended long. And you're going to start to lean back onto the elbows and either lifting the chest high like so, or all the way down on your back and using a prop or a rolled up towel or blanket behind the sits bones. So that, or at the sacrum, I should say, so that as you then are extended long on your back, the prop is right at the bony part of the sacrum, which is going to lift the pelvis and then still get that opening at the hip flexor, which is what Virasana will do. So that's a lot of variations. Find something that works for you in all of that variation, knowing that what we are working towards is lengthening and extending out the quadriceps and the hip flexor. And hold, knowing that about 30 to sometimes 60 seconds, usually the soft tissues around the joints start to release. They're holding a little bit less tension. If that's your experience and you feel like you can start to go a little bit deeper, then you can drop to your elbows, whether the legs are extended and you're on a prop on your sits bones or one leg out and one leg bent, whichever variation you're. And then for some folks, it might be a fit to draw yourself all the way down onto your back. And again, that could be both legs bent or just one leg bent. If you have just one leg bent, I will cue you after a couple minutes to switch sides. If you have both legs bent and you're all the way down on your back or on your elbows, you're going to hang out there for the full time. If you are fully lengthened with a prop underneath the sacrum and the legs extended out, you're going to stay there the whole time. Continuing to breathe. Drawing your mind back to its anchor, whether that's your breath or that sensation of contentment, situations of contentment. And if at any point you feel that it's appropriate for you to adjust your setup, please do so. If you have one knee bent and one leg extended, on an inhale, this would be a good time to switch sides, but move slowly, carefully, and with intention. Especially since this has been a pretty, if you have the knee bent with the foot back behind you, pretty deep flexion on that knee. So whichever leg is bent, take your time to release that. And then again, take your time getting into the flexion on the other side. And then know that when you switch sides, setup might need to be a little bit different from side to side, not always exactly symmetrical. We're holding a few minutes now at this point. If you're noticing, if you're on your elbows and you're starting to feel tension in your neck or shoulders, if there's a way to build up some props behind your back, either a couple rolled mats or towels or blankets or a bolster, anything that you can start to release onto to make sure that that tension doesn't get built up in the upper body. Or if that's not a fit for you, starting to sit back up and come out of it before the tension gets tight in the neck, shoulders, or upper back. About 2 more cycles of breath here. And then on your natural inhale, we're going to start to come out of this. Now, if you're all the way down on your back or resting on some props on your back, you're going to get the elbows down onto the ground if possible. Start to push into the upper arms, tucking the chin in towards the chest and moving up little by little so you can bring leverage to the hands, leverage yourself up. If it's one leg that's extended, maybe rolling over onto one side would be a fit for you. And then we're going to carefully lift ourselves back up, all the way up, back into arms. Taking your time, moving like you're moving through asas, so slow. Swinging the legs around to one side, and then coming back down onto your seat. Sending both legs out long. Start to wiggle at the knees, shift the ankles, move side to side. Blood flow back into those areas that were constricted. And then, keeping the right leg extended, draw that left knee out to the side, and then the left foot is going to land anywhere along the inside of the right leg, wherever it's a fit for you. I tend to feel like I need to adjust my sits bones when I come into this. This is called Janu Shirshasana, and I like to kind of shift that right leg forward a little bit, which ends up then putting my pelvis almost at an angle, more facing the shin of the left leg. So I'm going to take an inhale, move my shoulders to face the right toes. If you'd like, you can reach the arms up if that helps for you to extend your spine, or just keeping the spine lengthened, the crown of the head lifting up and out of the spine. On an exhale, slowly, slowly hinging from the right hip, start to move the sternum towards the right toes. At the same time, shoulder blades moving down towards the back waist. When you hit a sticking point, any part of your body that's asking you to pause, listen to that message, and then wait. Breathe here, each exhale releasing tension. Again, if you've noticed after holding it for a few moments, maybe 30, 60 seconds, that you have just a little bit of a release, like you can feel like whatever was stopping you before has softened and relaxed a little bit, and you feel like it's appropriate for you to go a little bit further. Maybe it's even just a centimeter. Go ahead and take that. And then whatever gap you have between your sternum and the front of the right leg, notice if you are able to fill that gap with some sort of prop setup so that you can better rest the chest down and or start to round the spine and rest the forehead down. Once you get that set up, allow the mind to get focused back on its anchor, either this breath in, flowing into this breath out, flowing into this breath in, or whatever it is that you are doing to build gratitude and contentment and feeling a sense of abundance. And focusing on that. Take another lengthened inhale. Flow into the exhale. And the next inhale, we're going to start to slowly lift this up and out of this. Moving any props, taking your time, and once you get lifted, come back to those shoulder rolls that we did at the beginning. See them across the neck. And then extend the left leg on. From there, some real gentle small twists side to side. Eventually repeating that on the other side. So this time left leg is extended. Right leg is going to bend and come out to the side. Notice that wherever the foot lands, it might be different than the other side, and that's fine. Adjust and shift the angle of the pelvis. Go ahead and take that. Once you're settled, then encouraging the sternum to point towards the left toes, either reaching the arms up to lengthen the spine with the shoulders away from the ears, or lengthening up out of the front of the head on the inhale. And then on your exhale, either arms extended or hands on the floor. Start to pivot and hinge from the hip so that that spine stays in all of its neutral curves. Not rounding down, not coming into a spinal extension with the chest poked out, but just keeping everything in its alignment. Once you hit the sticky spot, hold and breathe. Feel like there's space eventually for you to maybe release just a little bit deeper, and or carefully and slowly start to round and let the spine cascade over the leg. Set up any props that are helpful, and if one block isn't cutting it on one side, you can always layer the blocks or layer props until it is the right height for your body.
Lengthen inhale. Goes into an extended exhale. Next inhale. Slowly and carefully start. Lift yourself up. Press yourself back. Extending this time the right leg long, going from side to side, shifting the ankles, wiggling open, adjusting from the hips. So you'll notice that as we go through these different shapes and are focused on gratitude, that many of them involve forward fold, so that bowing forward, that sense of gratitude as you allow chin towards the chest, this action of gratitude, and or like the idea that we were doing earlier with opening up the chest, expanding that heart center, open and out. We're going to do another variation of that today, opening up the shoulders, opening up the space around the heart, front and back. So coming back to your tabletop. Keeping the knees, the hips right over the knees. Start to walk the hands forward. This is called puppy pose. If you know where we're going, go ahead and go there now. Otherwise, start to lengthen the arms out in front of you, and you're going to let the heart melt down towards the ground, and then either lowering the forehead to the ground, or for some folks that have substantial mobility and flexibility in the shoulder girdle, it might be bringing the chin to the ground. Or it may be bringing a prop so that as you melt the heart down, you can rest the forehead or the chest on the prop. Either way, the hips stay up in the ground, stay up in the air over the knees, and the heart melts towards the ground. And then again, bring back that sensation of contentment, what it is that you're grateful for, and how you can build more of a sense of abundance in your mindset, knowing that as we each individually feel more abundant in what we have, that it helps then to bring more just and equitable sharing of resources too. So it's all connected. Breathing in, feeling that sense of Santosha or contentment as you exhale. Float the forehead or the chin back up. Coming out of this really slowly. This has been usually for most of us somewhat intense or lengthening, stretching the shoulders. So really moving yourself up carefully and slowly. Hands back. And then either swinging the legs around to come to a seat, or if you'd rather sit on your heels, whatever feels good for your body, coming back up. And then in opposite hands to opposite shoulders, rounding the chin down. Santosha is from the second limb of Patanjali's yoga, called the niyam. And the first and second limbs, niyam, or sometimes called yama, and niyam or niyama, those are the social constraints or ethical practices, sometimes personal characteristics. Switching whichever arm is on top and doing that again. And they're more than just like ideas. The actual practice of yoga is the practical application of those characteristics. So if we're thinking about contentment and looking at how to practically apply how we live that in our social settings, it's kind of what we're getting at. We're going to make our way all the way down onto our back. Whatever way makes sense for you to get there. As you come down, make sure you still have access to your props. Once you land on your back, feet can be on the floor, knees are up to the ceiling, and then just pause for a minute and notice the sensation of all of the parts of the torso along the back side of the body being supported by the ground. Maybe including the backs of the arms in that sensation, back of the skull. Lengthen inhale. As that flows into your extended exhale, you soften the muscles of the back just a little bit more and let the earth take the weight. Maybe even envisioning any burdens that you feel like you've been carrying. Now the earth is helping you hold them. That might even be an opportunity to identify which of those burdens would you actually just let go of and not pick back up, but just let the earth have it. You don't really need to be carrying it. And notice if there's a sense of contentment if we were able to do that and let go of it. You're going to take a lengthened inhale. And then as you exhale, you're going to start to let both knees fall over to the left. Now, if you've got your props, if you want, you can stack the props kind of on the outside of that left leg, left thigh or knee, so that as the legs fall over, the props can support them. And then there's no gaps where the joints are just hanging up in space, but all of the joints are fully supported. If you like, you can extend the arms out from the shoulders and perhaps let the chin come over to the right. And hold and breathe and super twist. Maybe at this stage, you're still drawing your mind back to the sensations and the focal point of gratitude and contentment and abundance. Or maybe at this stage, the mind is calmer and settled, and each exhale be to release a little bit more tension out of the physical body, release a little bit more emotional energy out of the body. Start to recognize a sense of calmness and relaxation, replacing it. And inhale, extended exhale to prepare. And your next inhale, you just slowly start to bring the right leg up first. Now is use the hands to help support, to bring the legs up and the knees to the ceiling, so there's less pressure on the joints. Pause there in the center. Feel the body being supported. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, start to drop both knees over to the right. Now again, if there's a gap between the floor and the knees or a gap between each knee, fill it up with some props, some soft pillows or blankets, some blocks, anything so that those joints are supported and more fully relax. And then whatever you'd like with the arms, either out extended to the side or maybe one of the arms to the torso, either way that feels better for you. And then chin to the left shoulder if you like. Chin comes back to center. And if you'd like, using your hands, but gently letting the left knee hold down. Right, joins it. Pausing at the center, recentering the spine. And then making your way slowly into your choice of final rest. That might be traditional Shavasana with the full backside of the body on the ground, legs extended, ankles and feet and toes falling open to the side. Arms open to the side gently, and then either palms up or palms down. If on your back is not a good fit for you, rolling over onto either side body, coming into fetal position. That might be an option, or you can roll over onto your belly if you prefer that. Or any comfortable seated position, perhaps against a wall where your back is supported. Anything that fits for you to come into a final rest pose, having your mind settled. Back again on any anchor point that's working for you. Perhaps even for your last couple minutes, noticing how it's possible to build some gratitude for yourself and or for the last 50 minutes or so that you just spent caring for your nervous system, mind, your brain, body, emotions, your energy. The breath flow naturally.
Maybe an open mouth sigh, lengthen, extended exhale. Start to bring small movements to the fingers and toes. Reawakening the body slowly and sense for you. Shifting the neck side to side, maybe letting the ankles and wrists roll out a little bit. Maybe a long full body stretch if you're on your back or seated, lifting the arms, reaching them up and away from you as you lengthen the torso, maybe point the toes. Eventually, if you are lying down, position coming into a seated position, so maybe slowly rolling over to one side or rolling up, whatever works for you. Coming into any type of comfortable seated position, you can have the hands, palms down on your legs if you like. Hands together at heart center, and maybe you want to layer the hands over the heart center as you continue that feeling of gratitude. Whatever resonates with you. Bring another thought of gratitude as we wrap up time together. Thinking of the ancients in India and Southeast Asia. Those that discovered and developed this practice that we benefit from today. Different layers, the different practices. Understanding that how we show up for ourselves impacts how we show up in the world around us. That they shared all of that wisdom with the rest of the world across generations. Take a lengthened inhale. Drop the chin towards the chest. Silent note of thanks for anything else that comes to your mind. And Om Shanti, peace. Thank you again for being here. I appreciate the time.